Welcome to Fate 40 and Beyond. I'm Jen, your favorite spiritual bestie. I'm also the owner of Soulful Existence, where I offer one-on-one tarot card readings, mediumship readings, astrology readings, and energy cleansings, as well as past life regression. I kind of do it all. Anyways, let's settle in for a second while I tell you a little bit about the Fate 40 and Beyond and what we do here. This is a space for honest conversation about midlife, growth, and the things that we start paying attention to once we stop performing for everyone else. It's about slowing down, telling the truth, and learning how to live in a way that feels steady and real. Basically, we stop pleasing everyone else and we start living for ourselves. Some episodes are reflective, some are more practical, and all of them come back to the same idea: listening to yourself and choosing what actually works for you. Today is a mini episode. During our full-length episodes, I usually have a guest on. We do a tarot card reading and kind of see what comes up in the conversation from there. Many episodes are more like reflections of what's going on in my own life and sharing what I'm learning in hopes that someone else needs to hear this too. So let's get started. Today, I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but actually isn't. How to speak your truth, but without your nervous system going into overdrive. Because a lot of us know what we want to say. The hard part is staying regulated while we say it. This is something I've had to learn the hard way, and I'm still not good at this. I currently feel like the social world we live in, whether it's politically, culturally, there's so many different ways that you can offend someone these days. And while I think it's important to share some of my beliefs and what they mean to me, I still get very nervous doing that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm trying to convince anyone or make them see my side, but it's more about speaking my truth and hoping that someone else can relate, maybe someone who doesn't have a voice yet. It's not that I don't know what my truth is, but every time I try to speak up about it, my body reacts like I'm in danger, because for so long, that's how it felt. You know, the tight chest, the shaky voice, over-explaining, and replaying the conversation later. Even when the words were right, my nervous system felt completely wrecked afterwards. And for a long time, I thought that meant that I wasn't ready to speak up yet, or that I needed to somehow become more brave or more confident. What I eventually realized was that the problem wasn't in my truth or what I wanted to say, but it was how and when I was trying to deliver it. Most of us were taught that speaking our truth means saying everything all at once, clearly, calmly, and perfectly. But that's not realistic. And it's not regulation friendly for your nervous system. Your nervous system doesn't care about being articulate. It cares about safety. One of the biggest shifts for me has been understanding that you don't need to speak your truth at the peak of emotion. In fact, doing that almost always dysregulates you more. When your body is activated, your nervous system goes into protection mode. It's not trying to communicate. It's not thinking logically. It's trying to survive. So now I have come to the point where I realize if my body is buzzing with energy or tight or panicked, I pause. And that pause isn't avoidance, it's self-respect. Another thing that changed everything was letting go of the idea that truth has to be immediate. That's not true. You're allowed to take time. You're allowed to step back and say, I need to think about this, or I'm not ready to respond yet. One sentence alone can keep your nervous system from spiraling. Not to mention the fact that you don't owe anyone instant clarity, especially if your body is reacting the way it is. I'm also learning that I have to stop confusing honesty with intensity. I used to think that if I wasn't fully expressing everything I felt, I was being inauthentic. But intensity comes from dysregulation, not truth. Calm truth is usually more simple. Fewer words, less explanation, and more pauses. And when something is true for you, it doesn't need to be delivered forcefully for it to be real. One practical thing that helps is noticing where your truth lives in your body. For me, when something is true and safe to say, my body feels steady. When I'm forcing it, there's tension. That tension is information for me. It's not telling me to stay silent forever, but it's telling me to slow down and check my timing. Another huge lesson for me is that I've learned not everyone deserves access to my truth in real time. It doesn't make me dishonest. It makes me more discerning. Some conversations require regulation first, and honesty later. Some people require boundaries instead of explanations. Your nervous system will usually tell you which is which. And I think the most important aspect of this is realizing that I can't control the outcome. I have to release my expectation of the outcome. If I'm speaking my truth in order to control how someone else reacts, my nervous system's going to stay activated because that's control. Control and safety don't necessarily coexist. So speaking my truth calmly often means accepting that the response might be uncomfortable. But I'm also trusting that I can handle that discomfort without abandoning myself. And here's something that took me a while to accept. Sometimes the calmest way to speak your truth is through behavior, not words. Whether you leave a situation, you stop contact for a little bit, you change your patterns, choose differently. Words are powerful, but consistency is what actually calms the nervous system over time. What I've learned is that speaking your truth isn't about being fearless. It's about being regulated enough to stay present in your body while you're honest. That's a skill that's learned over time, one that you build slowly through practice, through listening to yourself, and through choosing safety over performance. If you're working on this and it feels messy, that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It usually means that you're doing it differently than what you were taught. Speaking your truth doesn't have to cost you your peace. When your nervous system feels supported, honesty stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like alignment. Thanks for sitting with me today. And don't forget to subscribe, follow along on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and have a great day.